After 18 months of being in government, I think the tide is now turning as people see that this was a defining budget for this government. And whether they like it or not, the true nature of the National Party has been revealed for all New Zealanders to see, because they are about big business. They have no concern whatsoever about ordinary working New Zealanders. So I rise to support the amendment moved by the Honourable Phil Goff, Leader of the Labour Opposition, that the words after that be omitted and the following words added: "This House has no confidence in the National Government, led by John Key, which has blatantly broken its clear promise not to raise the goods and services tax, has pushed up other taxes and increased prices when working people have had their lowest wage rises in more than a decade, has failed to implement a plan for jobs, lacks any vision for a smart, high-skill, high-tech and high-wage economy, has cut services and assistance to the most needy in our community, and has rewarded the most wealthy at the expense of middle and low-income New Zealanders." Sir, Mr. Speaker, that says it all for this particular government and their second budget. There is a well-known truism in the Pacific communities that when someone is given authority and they use that authority to gratify their pride or vain ambition, and then if they exercise control or dominion or compulsion upon the people to cover up their mistakes, nothing good comes of it, Mr. Speaker, and the people end up suffering. Before the general elections, Mr. John Key looked at the barrel of a TV camera, and when asked by a reporter, he promised that if he were in government, there would be no GST increase. He has broken that promise when last Thursday his government, under his leadership, announced that GST will increase by 20%, from 15.2% to 15%, effective on the 1st of October. This Prime Minister has broken his pre-election promise to all the ordinary families that voted for him, thinking that as he was raised from a housing New Zealand home, that he would somehow understand the struggles of ordinary Kiwis and empathise with them. Never did these middle New Zealanders imagine that the smile of the Prime Minister would somehow trap him in facing additional GST increases, which has effectively increased the cost of living for all struggling Kiwi families. The GST increase means price increases, Mr. Speaker, on food, on power, on petrol, on phone, on rates, on school uniforms, on early childhood education fees, and much, much more, all because this man, the Prime Minister and his government, broke their pre-election promise that they would not raise GST. His government then attempts to pacify those people who supported them, the same people who are now angry with the rising cost of living, by restructuring the tax system and producing tax cuts that will give more people more money to those who earn significantly high incomes. These tax cuts come at a cost to the whole nation of about $17.8 billion, which must be paid for in the years to come. The Prime Minister says that the tax cut and increase to GST is called a tax switch, and it will be cost neutral. Mr. Speaker, what this means for middle and low income earners is it's a tax swindle. This budget hurts the most vulnerable groups in our communities right across New Zealand. It hurts low-income groups, especially people on fixed incomes. It hurts solo parents and their children. It hurts workers on the minimum wage. It hurts the disability communities. It will hurt the elderly, young people and those on the invalid's benefits. The 81% of people in Māngere earning $40,000 or less a year have been swindled by the government's tax package because they will actually be worse off under this budget. It is a tax swindle because someone in Māngere on the medium wage of $20,600 may on the one hand get a tax cut of about $9 a week, but after you factor in the increases in the cost of living, ACC costs, that person is actually worse off by an additional $11 more per week. I blame the Prime Minister, Mr. Key, for the suffering that many in my community will continue to feel under his government. He is the leader and it is his government that is responsible. He has broken his promise on GST and attempted to hide his mistake by introducing a tax window, by manipulating an appeal to the desperation that many families face with low incomes, rising prices, and the genuine desire for all families to get ahead and make ends meet. There is no future, sir, for ordinary working families under this government. There is no future under this Prime Minister for communities he once called the underclass. Where is the future for children in Manukau when since December 2008, 9 early childhood centres have closed in Manukau? Where is the future for the children in Mangere when there have been 5 early childhood centres closed since National came into power? Where is the future for the children of Mangere families when parents could face costs of up to $20 or $40 a week more per child for early childhood education? But some centres estimate the real cost could be up to $60 per week per child. Last Friday, Mr. Speaker, workers at the Kiwi Care Centre on Tennessee Avenue in Mangere, the same one that the Prime Minister opened last year, sent a letter to their staff that they will have to review their staff numbers due to cuts from this government. Where is the future for these workers who possibly will be laid off and their lives will be added to the pile of discarded unemployed workers that still number above the Australian unemployed figures? There is no future for the people of Mangere under this government. I note, sir, leading up to the budget and even today, the Minister of Customs has been crowing loudly the wonderful work of custom officials at our borders. Labor supports the work and commitment of our customs and border officials and the significant number of narcotics interventions that we have heard so much about in recent days. What we haven't heard so much about is the government rushed the SmartGate electronic passport control system into New Zealand's airports against the advice of 3 government departments. The House has not heard how, despite warnings from the Department of Labour, Treasury and the State Services Commission, the Customs Minister approved the purchase of SmartGate. The 3 departments had serious concerns around whether the SmartGate system offered value for money and was the best technology to meet the future challenges of border control. I suspect the Minister of Customs may have wanted to do the right thing and follow the official advice and put up the SmartGate for a public tender process. But it seems that advice was all ignored because Prime Minister John Key asked officials to give highest priority to advancing the integration of Trans-Tasman border clearance. Official documents showed, despite reservations about SmartGate, its purchase and implementation was rushed so John Key could announce its introduction at a meeting with the Australian Prime Minister last August. I have the same concerns for the way this government, sir, approved $4.8 million to a little unknown private company called the Pacific Economic Development Agency Limited. There is widespread concern from the Pacific communities, from Invercargill to Kaikohe and from Taranaki to Gisborne. Last week, the company's register showed there were 2 original shareholders, but as of this week, there is now only 1 shareholder and 1 director. Labor asked the Minister whether she underwent a public tender process before approving this funds to a private company. Only yesterday we finally got an answer, and we heard that from the morning report. But the answer she gave, sir, sparks more question. Why did the Minister not undertake a rigorous tender process? Why was it not given to Pacific Business Trust, who has a long and strong track record in the community? Where did this money come from? Who were the people that lobbied the Minister so that she could approve this money without going through a public tender process? Was she bullied into making this decision by the Minister of Finance? Was she bullied into making this decision by the Prime Minister? Those questions need to be answered, sir, because $4.8 million is public money. We of the Pacific community want to know what outcomes will be achieved from this $4.8 million. And I have to, sir, say it is appalling that on Morning Report yesterday, after announcing that she was supporting this group with $4.8 million, she now reveals that she doesn't really know too much about what this company is going to provide. We demand those answers, Mr. Speaker.
Time's expired.
We demand